like Robert Kardashian's ex-wives accusing me of not being faithful when Khloé was conceived.
If you're going to be devastated, then why'd you do what you did?
I don't think
What was mindset when you cheated?
You're asking me?
Who else am I talking to?
After nearly 2 decades of whispers, one of Hollywood's most persistent rumors has suddenly come roaring back to life. The question that just won't die, who is Khloé Kardashian's real father, has once again taken over social media. And this time, Kris Jenner herself has stepped in to respond. What started as a harmless throwback clip from Keeping Up with the Kardashians has spiraled into a viral storm of speculation, forcing Kris to finally break her silence on the painful story she spent years trying to bury. For longtime fans of the Kardashian-Jenner dynasty, this rumor feels almost like a ghost that refuses to stay in the past. Every few years, it resurfaces. A new side-by-side photo comparison, a TikTok claiming to prove Khloé isn't Robert Kardashian's daughter, or a gossip headline suggesting Kris had an affair with someone other than her late husband. And each time, the discussion cuts deeper, reopening old wounds for a family that built an empire on sharing everything, except the full truth behind this mystery. But this latest wave of rumors feels different. It's louder, more personal, more emotional, and according to insiders, it's pushed Kris to the edge. Because the narrative isn't just about Khloé anymore. It's about her own past, her mistakes, and the one decision she's called my life's biggest regret. In a recent emotional conversation caught on camera, Kris Jenner's voice cracked as she spoke about loyalty, guilt, and the pain of being judged as both a wife and a mother. After years of deflecting questions, she's finally confronting them head-on. What did she say? Why now? After all this time? And what truth is she ready to admit or still hiding? Let's start from the beginning. Because this story didn't just resurface, it never truly went away. Every few months, it seems the same old question resurfaces, whispered in comment sections, dissected in Reddit threads, and blown up in viral TikTok videos. Is Khloé Kardashian really a Kardashian? What started as harmless speculation has turned into one of pop culture's longest-running mysteries. And despite countless denials, the rumor refuses to fade. It all began with the obvious. Khloé's appearance. Fans couldn't help but notice how different she looked from her siblings. While Kim, Kourtney, and Rob share their late father, Robert Kardashian's darker Armenian features, Khloé's lighter hair, hazel eyes, and taller frame stood out. To some, it was just genetics. To others, it was proof of something bigger, something Kris Jenner didn't want anyone to question. Then came the names. Theories started swirling that Khloé's biological father might not be Robert Kardashian at all, but rather someone from Kris's inner circle. 2 names surfaced again and again: O.J. Simpson and Alex Roldan, Kris's former hairdresser. Some pointed to old photos where Khloé's facial features looked identical to Alex's. Others resurrected the decades-old rumor that Kris and O.J. shared more than just friendship. The internet did what it does best. It took fragments of truth, added layers of speculation, and created a story that spread like wildfire, even after O.J. himself publicly denied the claim, calling it ridiculous and disrespectful. The online theories didn't stop. In fact, they evolved. Fans began using AI face-matching filters to prove similarities, while others compared Khloé's son Tatum to her supposed real grandfather. The more the family ignored it, the louder the noise grew. And now, after a recent wave of old interview clips and resurfaced confessions, the rumor has caught fire once again. But this time, Kris Jenner isn't dodging the headlines. For the first time in years, she's confronting the whispers head-on, and her emotional response has everyone talking. Because as Kris herself admits, sometimes silence only makes the speculation stronger. When Kris Jenner finally decided to address the rumors, it wasn't during a press conference or a calculated interview. It happened in one of the most vulnerable moments ever captured on the Kardashians. Sitting across from Khloé, her voice trembling, Kris confessed something that stopped viewers in their tracks. That's my life's biggest regret. For years, Kris had brushed off the speculation with polished smiles and practiced phrases. But this time, something was different. The weight of decades of whispers and the toll it's taken on Khloé finally broke through her perfectly composed image. Viewers could see it. The guilt, the shame, the exhaustion of a mother who knows that her own actions helped fuel the cruelest rumor surrounding her daughter. The conversation began when Khloé, tired of being compared to strangers on the internet, confronted her mom directly. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She simply asked, "Why did you do what you did?" And in that moment, the carefully curated world of the Kardashians cracked open. Kris's answer was raw. She admitted she thought the grass was greener somewhere else, that she'd made mistakes during her marriage to Robert Kardashian, mistakes she spent the rest of her life regretting. It wasn't just a confession about infidelity. It was about the ripple effect that one decision had, how it created decades of speculation, distrust, and emotional pain that never really went away. And while Kris's tears may have softened some critics, others weren't convinced. Many fans questioned whether the emotional moment was genuine or just another carefully timed confession meant to control the narrative. But regardless of intent, one thing became clear. Kris Jenner was no longer hiding behind silence. For the first time, the momager of Hollywood's most famous family looked less like a mastermind and more like a mother trying desperately to make peace with her past. Long before Kris Jenner's tearful moment on the Kardashians, the seeds of this entire scandal were planted in her own words, inside the pages of her 2011 memoir, Kris Jenner and All Things Kardashian. It was there, nearly 15 years after Robert Kardashian's passing, that Kris revealed what would become the foundation for one of the biggest rumors in pop culture history. She had cheated on her husband. At the time, the confession was explosive. Kris detailed how, in the late 1980s, she had an affair with a man she referred to only as Ryan. She described it as a moment of weakness, a thrill that quickly turned into the deepest regret of her life. The book was meant to show her honesty and vulnerability, but instead, it reignited an old theory that had been lurking for years, that her youngest daughter, Khloé, wasn't Robert Kardashian's biological child. Although Kris wrote that the affair happened after Khloé was born, fans weren't convinced. Old interviews and photos resurfaced, with people pointing out that Khloé's birth year and Kris's timeline didn't quite seem to line up. Others began to wonder whether Kris had left key details out of her story to protect herself or her daughter. Then came a chain reaction. Robert Kardashian's second wife, Ellen, claimed before her passing that Robert had once admitted he didn't believe Khloé was his biological daughter. Though Ellen's statement was later dismissed by many as bitter gossip, it poured gasoline on an already burning fire. Even Caitlyn Jenner, in her own memoir, hinted at secrets Kris never wanted to face, sparking fresh speculation. And every time one of these stories hit the internet, Khloé found herself back under the microscope, forced to relive a rumor she never asked to be part of. It was a confession meant to humanize Kris Jenner, but instead, it became the moment that permanently tied her name to the paternity mystery she now wishes would finally disappear. As the rumor gained new life, it wasn't just the media fueling the drama, it was the family itself. Inside the Kardashian home, tension was quietly building between Kris and Khloé, and what started as gossip soon turned into a personal wound neither could ignore. Kris, desperate to clear her name and end the speculation once and for all, began urging Khloé to take a DNA test. She believed that scientific proof would finally silence the critics, once and for all. But Khloé wanted nothing to do with it. "I don't need a test to tell me who my dad is," she said in one of the most emotional episodes of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. "My father is Robert Kardashian, period." Her words were sharp, filled with pride, but underneath, there was hurt. Decades of whispers had shaped how the world saw her. Strangers online treated her identity like a public guessing game, and now, her own mother's guilt seemed to be dragging her back into that same storm. Kris, meanwhile, saw things differently. She viewed the DNA test as closure, a way to stop living under the shadow of her past mistakes. But Khloé interpreted it as betrayal. How could her mother even entertain the idea that she might not be Robert's daughter? To Khloé, the very act of suggesting a test meant doubt, and doubt was unforgivable. Their conversations became more emotional, their tone sharper. What Kris saw as redemption, Khloé saw as reopening old wounds. The cameras caught every flicker of discomfort, every shaky breath, every look that said more than words could. Even though Khloé refused the DNA test, the damage was already done. The idea had been spoken aloud, not just in tabloids or fan theories, but at their own kitchen table. And that was when the world realized something shocking. This wasn't just gossip anymore. It had become a generational scar, one that neither mother nor daughter knew how to heal. If there's one thing the internet never forgets, it's a Kardashian rumor. And when it comes to Khloé's paternity, social media has turned speculation into a full-time sport. Every few years, a new generation of fans discovers the story, and with the help of TikTok edits, AI face-matching tools, and side-by-side comparisons, the theory explodes all over again. It doesn't take much. A fan posts a clip comparing Khloé's old photos to Kris Jenner's former hairdresser, Alex Roldan. Someone else stitches in footage of O.J. Simpson, pointing out supposed identical jawlines. Before long, the comment sections are flooded with people insisting they've solved the mystery. And while most treat it like harmless gossip for Kris and Khloé, it's a nightmare that never ends. Every headline, every Khloé's real father revealed, thumbnail chips away at their peace. Kris, who's built her empire on controlling narratives, Can't seem to control this one. And the irony is painful. The woman who taught the world how to turn scandals into storylines suddenly finds herself the unwilling protagonist in a story she can't escape. The pressure has gotten so intense that even other family members have been dragged into it. Fans now analyze Khloé's son Tatum, claiming he looks like Robert Kardashian, O.J. Simpson, or even Alex Roldan, depending on which corner of the internet you stumble into. Entire Reddit threads are dedicated to dissecting his features. And through it all, Khloé continues to defend her truth, while Kris battles to hold the family's image together. The internet's obsession has turned their private pain into public entertainment. Every tear, every quote, every family photo becomes evidence in an endless trial of public opinion. And while Kris Jenner has weathered countless controversies before, this one feels different. This isn't just about image anymore. It's about legacy, motherhood, and the unshakable feeling that one past mistake might haunt her family forever. After years of silence, denial, and emotional distance, Kris Jenner seems to have finally reached a turning point. Her image, once defined by control, strategy, and power, has softened into something far more human. And in this rare, unguarded version of Kris, fans are witnessing what might just be her redemption arc. In one of the most emotional moments from the Kardashians, Kris looked at Khloé's newborn son, Tatum, and whispered something that sent shivers through viewers. "This is the spitting image of your dad and your brother. It's freaking me out." For a woman who spent decades trying to outrun her past, it felt like a confession disguised as awe. A moment where she could finally see Robert Kardashian's presence living on, even after all the doubt. She went on to say, almost nervously, "I look through those eyes, and I see his little soul." The DNA is real. Some fans interpreted it as reassurance, others as guilt. But either way, Kris's tone wasn't that of a celebrity manager. It was that of a mother trying to make peace with her mistakes and the lies that spiraled from them. Over the past year, Kris has started to speak more openly about her regrets. She's admitted that her choices during her marriage to Robert Kardashian changed everything, and that her family paid the price for her impulsive decisions. For a woman known for carefully crafting her public persona, these cracks in her armor feel strikingly sincere. Still, skeptics remain. Some fans think her sudden vulnerability is just another calculated move, a storyline designed to boost ratings and sympathy. But others see it differently. They see a mother, now in her late 60s, confronting the ghosts she created decades ago. Because for Kris Jenner, redemption doesn't come through denial. It comes through finally saying out loud the things she's spent her entire career trying not to. Even after all the tears, the confessions, and the emotional TV moments, one question still lingers like a shadow over the Kardashian legacy. Who is Khloé Kardashian's real father? And maybe even more haunting than that is another question. Does Kris Jenner know more than she's admitting? Fans haven't let it go. In fact, the digital detectives of social media have only gotten more sophisticated. Every clip, every old photo, every passing comment becomes a new clue. TikTokers splice together vintage family footage, zooming in on eye shapes and cheekbones, comparing Khloé's childhood photos to both O.J. Simpson and Alex Roldan. Some claim to have proof based on family timelines. Others even point to long-forgotten paparazzi moments, like when Kris and Alex were spotted together in the late 80s, back when the Kardashians were still relatively unknown. But what really keeps the rumor alive isn't the evidence. It's the emotion. People see Khloé's pain when she talks about feeling different. They hear Kris's voice tremble when she mentions regret, and they sense there's a part of this story that still feels unfinished. As if everyone knows there's one final piece that's never been put on the table. Robert Kardashian's old friends have weighed in too. Some insist he knew the truth but chose love over biology. Others claim he confided doubts in private. But the man himself is gone. And with him went the only definitive answer that could end the speculation forever. Kris Jenner, meanwhile, continues to insist that Khloé is Robert's daughter. Not because of genetics, but because of everything they shared. Memories, love, and loyalty. But to many watching, her eyes still give away something deeper. Maybe she's telling the full truth. Or maybe, like every great Kardashian storyline, there's more to be revealed. One final twist that the world just isn't ready to hear yet. After all the years of speculation, emotional confessions, and endless internet debates, one thing has become clear. This story was never just about DNA. It's about legacy, forgiveness, and the painful reality that sometimes our past choices echo louder than we ever imagined. For Kris Jenner, the rumor about Khloé's real father has become more than a scandal. It's a mirror reflecting her own humanity. Behind the fame, the wealth, and the power, she's still a woman who made mistakes, lived with regret, and now faces the consequences under the world's brightest spotlight. Each time the rumor resurfaces, it reminds her of the one chapter she can't rewrite, the moment she broke the trust of the man who helped build the foundation of her family. Khloé, on the other hand, has spent her adult life proving that family isn't defined by blood but by loyalty. She said it herself. "My dad is Robert Kardashian. That's all that matters." Her refusal to take a DNA test isn't defiance, it's strength. It's her way of reclaiming the narrative that others tried to write for her. And while the internet continues to speculate, Khloé continues to live, laugh, and love, as though the truth has already been decided. Maybe that's the real message hidden beneath the headlines. Not every secret needs to be solved, and not every rumor deserves an answer. Because in the end, what matters isn't who shares your DNA, it's who stands by you when the world starts asking uncomfortable questions. So as Kris Jenner wipes away her tears and Khloé keeps moving forward, the story of who's the real father might finally start to lose its power. Or maybe not, because as every Kardashian fan knows, no story in this family ever truly ends. It just waits for the next chapter to begin.